This is kind of an unwritten rule. What is the proper etiquette for using urinals with no dividers?
I've considered this myself. The proper etiquette is to just turn right the fuck back around and go to some other urinal.
Go to a stall. You're like, nope, I ain't using that.
Go to a stall. I'm not gonna even lie. That's totally 100%. No, I'll say 95% of the time. That's what you got to do. No, 100% of the time. Sorry, I can't even lie. I can't. I was actually thinking back. And I was like, not doing it, dude. Not doing that shit. No, thank you.
If there's like, let's say 6 urinals there, none of them have dividers, but it's kind of like it goes from like wall to wall. I think it's okay to take like the ends, right? And you just kind of like angle off into the corner a little bit. At least you get some privacy there, but I don't know. It's just, I don't feel comfortable using those.
Yeah.
But even with dividers, you have to at least skip one.
Yeah, even with that.
You're never using the one directly next to someone else.
No. And then it becomes a challenge if the whole thing is full and all you got to do is pee, and all the sometimes there's a point at which you got to like sacrifice something.
Yeah,
you're either like
or something.
You're like, I gotta fucking. It always happens at the gym for me. I'm like I gotta go work out, so I gotta get this done. I don't want to be, because some dudes take forever in the stall, and you're just like, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
You skip. Come on, little respect.
It is the unwritten rule.
Exactly.
So, in light of the movie we're going to be covering today, I did want to ask you, just really quick, do you remember your first crush?
There have been many first crushes, not really. Yeah, gosh, yeah. I'm all. This person might hear this. That's funny. Yeah. It was Jessica Ramos. It's the first name that came to my mind, and I kept thinking like, no, surely there was another girl that I had. No, but she's the one that was like the most significant. Her best friend actually had been my really close friend, and we were boyfriend and girlfriend for a day.
For a day. How old were you?
That was in 8th grade. I was 13. 12, 13.
Okay.
Yeah, when I got that first girlfriend. But again, we'd been really, really good friends. Call each other on the phone. Back in the day when you had a hardline phone and everything. I don't even know if we had a cordless.
I actually remember, it's so long ago, but I actually do remember my very first crush was in kindergarten. It was this girl named Kristen. I just thought she was the prettiest girl in the whole wide world, right?
Kristen.
I thought she had a pretty smile, and I had no idea, like no fucking idea how to approach her or anything. I don't think she realized I existed at all, but I think she ended up liking one of my friends, Anthony. And honestly, I mean, looking at those two, they look like they would be a better couple anyway. Like they just make sense. It's almost like watching like JT and Britney Spears, like when they first got together, it just kind of made sense.
Yeah.
I think we went to the same school up until like 6th grade or something. And
wow.
I just never saw her again. I don't know. It was kind of a strange situation. I wonder what happened to her. Hope she's doing all right.
Yeah. Big ups to her. Kindergarten. That's so fun. Gosh, so fun that was your experience. To imagine that this took place, and you were. I mean, by took place, this you seeing her, you were just running around all over the place, and then all of a sudden, and having this crush on her, and then watching her grow older, and all that stuff. Just how cool! Wow, never been kissed.
Not by her, anyway.
Yeah, never been kissed. Got this whole thing going.
But that does lead us into our movie for today. So, you ready to mob it?
Let's mob it.
How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Aflixionados podcast, episode 51. We're available wherever you get your podcasts, with new episodes dropping on the first Saturday of each month, 5 a.m. Pacific. If you enjoy our content, please consider giving us a like. All of our social accounts are conveniently bundled together for you in our link tree. That does also include Blue Sky, where we just post random stuff from time to time, so check us out there.
Hell yeah.
My name is Eric, and the other voice occupying your head this time is a man of many trades, philosopher, charmer, future librarian, fancy mattress owner, my good friend, former colleague and co-host, Michael.
Hey.
I had to update it a little bit, right?
I like it. Yeah.
Here on Afflixionados podcast, we mainly talk about films that range from mind-numbing to mind-blowing. We also cover TV shows and other forms of media. As always, we will be getting into spoilers here, and there will be only the healthiest amount of expletives tossed in. You have been warned. If you're ready, then get ready, because in this episode, we will be discussing the sweet, charming, romantic comedy Never Been Kissed, released in 1999, directed by Raja Gosnell.
Hey, Raja, shout out.
Raja. So, director Raja Gosnell has directed some of the most acclaimed movies, such as Big Mama's House,
Very highly acclaimed.
live action Scooby Doo, Beverly Hills Chihuahua, and Home Alone 3, to name a few. Your favorite?
Hell yeah. I've watched that. I love that movie.
Obviously, you can't talk about this movie without talking about the main protagonist, Drew Barrymore. And she was really on an upswing here around this time, coming off of Scream, The Wedding Singer, Ever After. This was like just before Titan AE and Charlie's Angels, Donnie Darko.
Mm.
And I don't know, she was hitting her prime right here.
Yeah, seriously.
Even though she was never really like my cup of tea, I could always appreciate the persona that she kind of carried with her. She always kind of had like that cutesy, innocent, like girl next door sort of personality, and I always
That-
appreciated that.
yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. Yeah, there was something about this. Yeah, she has
Kind of
that.
dorky too at times, which is pretty cute.
Yes. So endearing. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. The blonde hair that she's rocking on the cover of this one.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely. I'm just like, ah, yeah, it's all bouncy and yeah. Anyway.
And funny thing is, Never Been Kissed is where I first became infatuated with Jessica Alba as one of the mean girls of the movie.
Oh, dang, I forgot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about like Dark Angel, Idle Hands,
Idle
which I
Hands.
mean, it's understandable. It's definitely understandable. I know we've talked about Idle Hands a few times, and those hands are not idle. Let me tell you,
Devin Sawa, tip the hat.
that bastard. All right, enough goofing around. Not that there's anything wrong with Never Been Kissed, but that's not really the movie we're going to be covering today.
What?
Apologies for being so secretive, but it'll all make sense in a few seconds here. So let's get into what we're really here to talk about. There are a certain set of rules, strict rules here that we're following. Some might describe this sort of movie as maybe action, maybe even dramedy. Others might say psychological thriller, perhaps even social satire. Maybe it's all of those and maybe it's none of those, honestly. But ladies and gentlemen, no more antics. The film we are referring to is none other than Fight Club, also released in 1999, directed by David Fincher.
Hell yeah. Tell him why. Tell him why we did that. Tell him.
So,
Let
okay.
him know.
I know it's probably really weird that, like, why they pull the rug out from under us, why they call it Never Been Kissed, but we're actually talking about Fight Club here. So if anyone was wondering why we disguised this episode as Never Been Kissed specifically, I actually took this idea from the 10th anniversary edition of the Fight Club movie on Blu-ray. So if you've never seen, I don't know if they do this on any of the other editions, but on the Blu-ray disc version, which is the one that I have, this is why I know. And I even popped it in just to confirm I wasn't having some sort of Mandela effect or something. But yeah, when you pop in the disc, the menu screen looks like Never Been Kissed. And then after a couple of seconds, it shifts into Fight Club. And I was like, that's fucking awesome. When I first saw that,
That's badass.
I had a good chuckle with that. And so that's where I got the idea, like, hey, we should do that for an
A
episode.
stroke of genius. I love it. I love it.
Like we're saying, it does fall into the strict set of rules for the club. And everyone wants to point out the first rule, but for me, it's really more about the second rule, which is you do not
Talk
talk
about
about Fight Club.
Yeah. Plain and simple.
And you know what? Strangely enough, this is only our second David Fincher film. Yeah, the first was Seven with
Oh,
Nicole.
yes.
That one had a soft spot for me because that was the first video that we posted on our YouTube channel. So that was kind of what got the ball rolling on that
That's
platform. So
right.
I still really like that one.
Hey.
But I mean, it's also a dope movie.
That's right, Nicole. Yeah, we had that. That was. Oh my gosh, that movie's so good.
Yeah.
Seven. David Fincher, solid.
I think they did like a anniversary re-release earlier in the year. So I got to go see that in theaters and it was just as amazing.
Oh, that's why. Okay. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you did that. That's badass. Hell yeah. They. I saw the re-release of the newest release of the 4K version.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Came out.
As probably most people know, but just in case you don't, Fight Club is based on the 1996 novel of the same name, written by Chuck. How the hell do you say that? Palahniuk?
Pollincheck?
Palahniuk? Let me make sure that's actually his name. Yeah, it looks like Palahniuk. Chuck
Huh.
Palahniuk. Um, the film, I don't know what else he's written, but I know this one is probably the one that he's best known for. And the film failed to meet 20th Century Fox's expectations at the box office initially. It also received polarized reactions from critics at that time as well. However, it later found commercial success with its home release, establishing it as a cult classic.
Yeah.
And I think since then it's been like a huge success. Multiple re-releases and such as the Blu-ray
Mhm.
one. Without further ado, let's get into the meat and potatoes here.
Mhm.
The unnamed narrator, played by Edward Norton, he's like your everyday average Joe. He goes to his job that he hates, and he comes home and he doesn't. He just watches TV and goes to sleep, and that's pretty much it. That's his daily routine. Unfortunately, he suffers from insomnia, and so that's kind of like wrecking his life right now because it's like he's trying to go to sleep, but he can't, and he's just sitting there watching fucking infomercials, buying a bunch of useless shit he doesn't need. Man, I don't know if you've ever had insomnia, but insomnia fucking sucks, dude.
Oh, yeah, definitely have had a few bouts.
I think a lot of people that have never had it, they probably think of it like, oh, that's so cool. You never get tired. Problem is, you definitely feel tired and you want to go to sleep. You just can only sleep like 5 minutes at a time and you wake back up and then you
Mm.
can't go back to sleep. And you just do that the entire night and it's terrible. Like, you don't get any sleep at all, basically.
Mhm. Mhm. It's like torture.
You don't have that problem now with your fancy bed. So technically, the main protagonist, I don't think he ever really reveals his true name, right? Like, I think he's just kind of like unnamed throughout most of the movie.
Yeah, it's funny, I was taking little notes here and there, I was like, "What the fuck is his name?"
And I,
It's
I
like
think that's why we just call him the narrator because it's from his point of view. So
yeah.
obviously, he calls himself I, or this happened to me. He's just the narrator.
I like that. I like that he did that too, because it definitely gives a feel like it could be any one of us. There's no name to him, so we're no different than him. We're consumers just like him, and we have our deep human desires that get, snuffed out, prioritize other things that we think are important. And the biggest takeaway I had of this movie, when I first saw this movie, I was what was I? If it was 99, yeah, ninth grade. I was a ninth grader, so yeah, 13, 14, and it was just chaos, right? And that's what I remember thinking. It was all about. I didn't understand it, so I'm really great. I'm always so glad when we go to watch a movie that I actually had seen before when I was younger, because you just find so many more layers of meaning that are there that you didn't see before. It's all about perception, which is something that Tyler talks about in the movie. Anyway, lost my train of thought.
He's almost kind of like an avatar for the audience. He's just this vehicle that we experience the story through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
But he does kind of give himself multiple names. Like, he pretends to be people that he's not, and he refers to himself as different names throughout the movie. Like, the ones that I picked up on: Cornelius, Rupert, Travis, Lenny, and Jack. He goes to these different groups and he gives himself a different persona each time. And so those are just some of the
Uh-huh.
names that he calls himself. So it's weird that he has no name, but yet he has a lot of names at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. He's part of the system, the capitalist system. He likes buying a lot of shit. He has decked out his apartment with all this like fancy stuff. And most of us walking in, like, I know I did, when I saw the apartment, I was like, dang, this is pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
Dope ass yin yang coffee table here.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's true. But I think that they make their point. They really drive the director drives the point home by having the price tag on everything, and
Mm,
it's so like shoveling it down our throats that it's like you really get a feel for like, oh God, like yeah, he's deriving meaning from these things, and then you kind of think that's not so bad. I kind of want those things too. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
who doesn't want those things? Those stability and everything. And I think that's really the point, and that's why Tyler wakes him up on that flight.
He probably gets dopamine hits every time you buy something.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
so fun to order fun things on Amazon.
Oh, absolutely, I definitely get that dopamine hit.
Unfortunately, these are temporary, and then so you kind of go
Yeah,
looking for it again, chasing that dragon,
yeah.
right?
Mhm, mhm.
Nothing's ever gonna be as fun as that first Amazon purchase. Do you remember yours?
No, I don't. I actually don't.
I do remember mine. Mine, I don't remember the year exactly, but it was definitely early stage Amazon. At that time, they were basically only selling books and like other like random one-offs. And I ordered like 10 Goosebumps, baby.
Oh, hell yeah, that 10 pack.
I had my I mean I didn't have a card at the time, so I had my parents sign up for Amazon and I was all excited, those things are pristine.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I
right.
have no idea what happened to them, but they're somewhere.
Those things were pristine. But yeah, it's just it's interesting. Watching the first 20 minutes of this movie made me really I just appreciated both the author, Chuck and David Fincher for this movie. Of course, the
Mhm.
actors, Edward Norton and Brad Pitt. It's so prescient. It's like if that was a problem back then when you had to order things over the phone and on, using a magazine, how much crazier has it gotten with at the advent of things like Amazon, like you were saying? Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Infomercials, exactly, like all that. It's just crazy the ease of getting things, just the mindless consumption of things.
He's obviously suffering with insomnia and it worsens and he's kind of desperate. So he just starts throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall, see what sticks, and he tries out some of these meetings, right? Support groups. So
Exactly.
he's trying some different things out, and this one was for testicular cancer, right? The initial one.
Mhm. Yeah.
He meets Bob, or bitch
Mhm.
tits as he calls him. And so he's like this big burly guy with boobs. But yeah, so he goes there, and so that's one of the guys that the main protagonist meets. He realizes that after going to these groups and just pretending to be one of them, it allows him to sleep. He uses it
Mm.
as some sort of outlet for all of his emotions. It doesn't quite even make sense to him, but he's just like, hey, it's working, so I'm just gonna keep doing it.
Well, yeah, exactly. His lack of sleep is like symptomatic of the problem that he has. The problems that he's not dealing with, I should say.
Hmm.
This inner turmoil that he just hates the monotony, but he's convincing himself, or he's trying to convince himself that this is the way that's going to make him happy. Hey, look, I have all these things, but really he's not. And because these things really do deeply bother him, we have the whole Tyler Durden situation and this whole change in his approach to life. Finally, it just breaks. Even though he himself is not being, he may be genuine, but he's not giving them all the
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, he's only being genuine about his emotions and how sad he is, but yeah, he's not giving him the real name and like why he's really
Yeah.
there, all that stuff.
Hmm. He's that shoulder to cry on, quite literally, for Bob and for so many others.
For vice
And
versa.
then vice
He just
versa. So
buries his
every
face into his tits.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, and Bob is also played by Meatloaf, by the way.
R.I.P.
Good things must always come to an end. Nothing lasts forever.
Hmm.
So eventually he runs into some cancer, as he likes to call her. And he very much treats her like this fucking bottom feeder piece of shit. But we're introduced to a woman named Marla Singer, played by Helena Bonham Carter. She's like so good at playing these fucking weird ass roles. But yeah, she's another imposter who joins similar groups as him, and so they run into a couple different groups, and she's starting to go to him all the time, and so he feels like she's invading in his territory, and
No, he's not getting the sleep he was getting before because he has to have control. He still has not yet learned that yin yang table, you know?
those are only temporary solutions, and that's why he needed to go every single week in order to get a consistent sleep, right?
Right.
He can't get what he needs from these groups because of this woman who isn't really bothering him necessarily. She's kind of minding her own business too. But the fact that he just knows that she's not there genuinely because she's a woman and she's there attending testicular cancer support groups, he's just like, what the fuck is this? What is going on here?
It's yeah, it's like the things we don't like the things we don't like about others are the things we don't either see in ourselves or that we don't like in ourselves. So it's like that it's like he doesn't see it. He's doing exactly the same thing. He's calling it's the pot calling the kettle black. He's doing the
True.
exact same thing as her, but he's berating her. You can't do this because this is my thing. This I do this. I need this more than you. But it's like, why can't you both have that? He can't stand the fact that she's doing the exact same thing.
So, how did you feel about Marla? What are your thoughts on her character? Did you feel like she was almost kind of feeling like an antagonist of the movie, or was she just like a maybe, misunderstood sort of character?
Misunderstood. Yeah, I could see she has this really she's just a really sharp wit. She may look really unkempt and all that, but she she knows a lot more, than you would think if you think, "Oh, she's on the street."
Oh, definitely. Yeah, she is kind of a hot mess in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
In other ways, it's kind of ironic because she's like in a worse state than he is, but she's got
Mm.
her shit together more than he does somehow.
Right, exactly, exactly. He's still searching, and she seems pretty confident with where she's at.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, can't really be upset with her because she's essentially doing the same thing he's doing.
Exactly, exactly. That's why it's just so interesting and so revealing of his character.
This is such a weird relationship that they form because, he calls her out, he pulls her aside, and he's just like, let's compromise. Let's split up the groups. We'll pick different days, different times, so that way we just never run into each other and then problem solved. So, yeah, both of these people are just basically scheduling to come to these groups to continue to just be an imposter and while also avoiding each other. It's just like a weird situation.
Which is funny because that should say something about her, and how she feels about him, because she didn't necessarily have to agree to that.
True. Yeah. So you feel like she was already kind of like, hey, who's this guy?
Exactly, because she's all about doing the same thing he's doing, which is feeling alive,
Hmm.
feeling more alive, and now he is engaged with her. Now they're locked in some sort of entanglement.
Yeah, she's pretty patient with him though. I don't know what it is that, I mean, it could just be that initial attraction, but yeah, you definitely kind of get a sense that she's attracted to him, but you get like a slight hint because he says he's repulsed by her, and that's also kind of the initial approach that like elementary kids have is like, ew, girls are gross, they have cooties or whatever, vice versa.
Mhm.
They just don't know how to process their feelings at that point, so that's
Mhm.
just like the only way they can describe it.
Right.
He does give like a little hint here, and he's just like, hey, maybe we can like take down each other's contact information, just in case we want to like reschedule or something. And so she's like,
Mhm.
all right, cool, I'm down with that.
I think he might even be a little mad at her that he feels that way, given just where he's at and his headspace and whatever. But
Right.
yeah, yeah, she that indifferent way of just like kind of just walking away, waltzing out of his life, doesn't want to leave it to chance because he wants control too. He wants control.
Well, speaking of control, let's see if he can control this next person they meet. So what's the narrator's job? Like, he works for an insurance company and he has to fly out to different locations.
He's a recall coordinator. So we watch this whole montage of different sites that he goes to, just this endless stream, a blur of days spent, at San Francisco airport, LAX, New York, all over the place. And
It sounds a little exciting, but like this is also part of the monotony of things that he experiences.
it's funny too. Exactly like you said. It seems like it would be exciting for so many others, but it's just in the context, it's just monotonous. The way that he describes it, you would never have thought of it that way. But wow, yeah, living out of a suitcase, different hours of different from last place you went to sleep, and just this again, just yeah, it's again just like this blur of days. Same old thing. He runs this algorithm, seeing whether or not the damage done to the car. So he's the recall coordinator. He goes on site. He assesses damage. I forget the formula, but basically he has to see if it's worth it. If it's going to cost more money for the company to pay out a settlement than it would to just have them all do a recall that would cost the company money just to repair
Bite the
the
bullet.
whatever the right exactly. So he's there to assess that. So we go through these blur of days. He's a recall coordinator and all that shit. And yeah, so he's just on a return home.
Yep. As you probably have met a lot of people on the many flights that you've taken, our protagonist also meets someone. There's some people that he just doesn't bother to really interact with. He does meet someone who happens to be a soap salesman, and he finds out that this guy's name is Tyler Durden, played by Brad Pitt. So he's kind of like this suave, kind of cool, calm, and collected sort of character, and I think he just has this natural charisma about him. He has this aura,
Hmm.
right?
Very self assured.
Yeah, and just from like the few words that he speaks with Tyler initially, he's just like, "Oh, this guy's the most interesting person that I've interacted in a long time."
Hmm.
That's when he finds out that he's a soap salesman, and He gives him his little business card and all that stuff, and so that's how they meet.
Mhm, mhm.
After the plane lands, he heads home, and there's like a bunch of fire trucks around his apartment complex and everything. And he looks up and he's like, "Oh shit, apartment blew up. That's crazy. Wait, that kind of looks similar to like where my apartment would be. It's like roughly around that area." And then I think he looks on the ground, like the surrounding area in front of the apartment complex, and he sees some of his furniture, right, burnt to a crisp.
Yeah. He looks down, sees his fridge, he's talking about the condiments in there, he's all he's embarrassed that there isn't, food in his fridge. He's afraid of people seeing that. Talk about somebody who doesn't want to be want to be actually seen. I think Marla scares him for that reason too. She's capable of seeing him, and he kind of likes that. It's dangerous. He likes it, but he's also afraid of it.
I could see that. Yeah, because I mean, he is so secluded and just kind of keeps to himself most of the time.
Right. He's really afraid of being judged. And so when he, you know, sees this apartment is his apartment, all his belongings, all his stability is exploded
Yeah,
all over the place. Everyone sees his everything out.
his
It's all
business
laid
is out
bare.
there. Yeah, that's true.
His insides are on the outside. Yeah, exactly. His business is laid bare. And so in that low moment, who does he call but his new friend?
Let's try it out.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what the hell this was, but like Tyler calls back. He star 69s and he's just like, "Who's this?" Like eating his fucking.
He's eating chips.
It was he eating chips? I thought he was eating cereal or something.
Could have been cereal, something crunchy, that's for sure.
Yeah, reveals right here that he's just like, "Yeah, I never answer the phone on the first few rings. I always call back
Yeah, I always star
for whatever reason."
69. That's hilarious. And for like, that's not even a thing. Is it still a thing? I don't know. Do people still do that? God.
I don't even know if that's still a thing now. I've done it in
But I
years.
love that it captures that moment in the '90s when that was something that we would do. You would star 69 on somebody.
Yeah, there's no like just callback feature.
No, so that's really, really cool. So not only is there a throwback to the star 69, but the fact that he's using a fucking payphone, man. Those
Yeah,
things don't even exist anymore. I've seen, you see ghosts of them, traces of them these days, but the fact that used to be a fucking payphone there with a big ass like a phone book that was like chained to it basically, so
yeah.
for everyone to be able to access, but tear out a page.
Yeah, I feel like Terminator. I feel like or like any Arnold Schwarzenegger movie now that I think about it. But yeah, it's so weird because those things would like for the most part be fully intact. I feel like if you had that now,
Right.
dude, those things would be all fucked up.
Yeah,
But
vandalized.
no one really messed with those.
Yeah, people respected the fact that, if you were in the same situation, you might need that certain page to get a hold of somebody that whatever. So, now we have hackers, and it's just, it's crazy. It's crazy, crazy times. People just breaking in. So he calls him, and of course, with no place else to go, that's exactly. We all know that's what he's aiming for.
And he has no friends either. So
None, none.
that's
Yeah,
literally all he has is this random stranger he just met.
yeah,
He seemed like he hit it off too.
yeah. Exactly.
Had a good rapport, and so they meet up at a bar and just kind of like shoot the shit for a bit, and
Right, right.
you get a lot of Tyler's views that we were talking about before, right?
Hmm.
You're not the contents of your wallet. He always goes on about like all that stuff.
Hmm.
I think we've had this conversation in the past, but part of what made me not want to see it initially was that it was kind of like a broy sort of movie. Like that's what it felt
Yeah,
like.
exactly. It's a broy kind of, yeah, this kind of broy kind of way. And I was like, that's it. You guys don't, you stopped at just the fighting part. You don't really
Yeah.
get like there's so much to this.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's really complex when you think about it. And yeah, I think a lot of people, like certainly my friends growing up, they're initially attracted to it because of the fighting. It's like, yeah, it's such a cool, like manly thing. Like we're just beating each other up and drinking and having fun and just wrecking shit.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, we're doing guy stuff. Yeah.
And I mean, I went in with that mentality and I did enjoy it for that, but I feel like, as I was saying, when you watch it again, knowing what the story is, and I think it also helps seeing it with a certain mindset or maybe other people that also have that mindset because
Hmm.
they can kind of ruin the experience or maybe like sway your opinion depending on where you're at in your life. So
Right, right, exactly. It can influence you,
mhm.
um, without you realizing it, because it might not be these might not be your ideas. It actually might not be what you really think. So yeah, it can. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I thought I knew. I thought oh, I saw it. I get it. Yeah, you guys fight and whatever. And then, but then there were, of course, things I was not admitting to myself that I just didn't understand about what was going on and the whys behind it all. I was like, oh, I get it. I get it. My little know-it-all, ninth grade self, like, oh, I get it. I get it. I get it. Is I understand all of it.
Yeah, and the exact reasons why guys wanted to go see it, girls did not, because they're like, it's a stupid movie about just like people fighting in a parking lot. What's so interesting about that? But it's really cerebral. That's what I love about it.
It is. Exactly. I mean, the man's literally having an existential crisis. What does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be alive in the year 1999? Is this what we're doing? The pursuit of happiness. Is this what happiness is? This is what I should be striving for. So many people do. It's just this mediocrity that he's willing to settle for. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's existence, right? He's questioning it. He's
Yeah.
questioning, is this what we're all here for?
Or at the very least, at this point, Tyler's trying to get him to question it. Get him to open his eyes a bit.
Yeah, yeah, he certainly appears there to wake him up.
Is this where he finally ends up going to Tyler's place?
Well, before he does, yeah, this is he walks outside and that's when, like you were saying, he goes like, three pitchers of beer and you're not gonna you haven't asked me yet, man. Like he's
Right,
like, oh
right.
yeah, he's like, just ask me, you want to. And then he says, would you have a problem with it? And he's like, are you gonna ask me? It's just like pussyfooting around the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Fast forward to he's fucking beating, he's getting blood all over his boss in his boss's office, like a very different person.
Humble
Um,
beginnings.
humble beginnings, right? So he's trepidatiously broaching the subject of maybe could we, hey, possibly could we,
Just say what you want to say.
he just says like, dude, just fucking spit it out. Like, if you're gonna be around me, this is how I live my life. Just do that.
Oh, and this is where we kind of get the early stages of the club, right? Because isn't that where he's like, what? We should do something crazy, like punch me as hard as you can. And
Yeah,
he's like, fuck, I'm not gonna punch you. He's like, oh, that's fine, dude. Just punch me.
that's what it is. He tells him, you got to do something. He tells him, but if you're gonna stay with me, you got to do something for me. That was the agreement. You got to punch me hard as you can.
I don't know if it was as hard as he could do, but certainly hit him with something. It was unexpected too, which I think was hilarious because Tyler wasn't expecting it to land like on his ear, and so he's just like, motherfucker. They just wanted to feel alive, or that's what Tyler wanted to do, and he wanted the narrator to also feel alive. So after he gets hit first to kind of build that trust, and then he gives him like one to the
Mm.
gut, both writhing in pain, and they're just like, all right, let's go back to the pad.
Again, that was just like this wake up. And it was like, because he was with Tyler, this experience happened. I want more of that. Let's hang out. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back to your place.
Mhm.
And despite the fact that it's this fucking dilapidated building, it's like, what do they call that?
A
Um,
shithole.
deemed unlivable. Like
Right.
it's
And that's
slated
why no
for
one fucks with
destruction
them.
or something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're basically squatting in it, but
Yeah, they are.
do they say where this takes place? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think they said it takes place at the Overlook.
The Overlook.
'Cause that's what that building looks like. I'm just saying. It was great in its heyday.
Yeah. Or maybe that house from It.
Yeah, oh gosh. Yeah, freaky.
I don't even know if the front door locks or has handles or anything on it. They just
Oh,
walk inside and
they don't. It doesn't. He says that door it looked like yeah, from the last time it had been kicked down, he said. There's no
that's
lock on
right.
it. Holy shit, it's just your door. I thought only Canadians had their doors unlocked. Yeah, the just disrepair. Absolutely.
Rot all over the place. It's leaking as one of the rainy nights. It's like leaking in multiple, countless spots of the
Oh,
house.
yeah, yeah.
For whatever reason, like the basement floods.
Home Alone style,
Yeah,
like
right.
it's murky and he's walking through it, you're just like, "No." Splash through just to turn off the power. I got used to not watching the TV anymore, he says.
Yeah,
You
after the
know?
first week, I didn't even miss TV anymore. What are they doing? They're just kind of doing anything to just pass the time, it looks like, in that house.
To me, it's like they see themselves as living because 'cause they're certainly not sitting in front of a screen just staring blankly at it, just show after show after show as they're kind of making it seem, you know what I mean? Like they're he's engaged, he's with his environment. He learned to do the thing that Tyler showed him about turning the power off when it's necessary to do so when the basement floods and all that stuff. And there's just so many things to do to upkeep the house. And then from the house, the little thing that they've been doing, they start doing right after they've been they'll go to the bar and then they progressively get into bigger, longer, more violent fights.
They got a taste of the excitement that they got from hitting each other, and so that almost becomes a tradition. Let's go to a bar, let's hang out for a bit, get a couple drinks, and then let's take a couple more blows. And so
Yeah,
that
exactly.
now they're just kind of like beating the shit out of each other, not in a serious way. They're going until like they're satiated.
Right, they're not trying to kill each other. They have a certain, they'll stop. The other person punching me is looking out for me to give me the experience of feeling alive because now I feel something, right? I'm not numb, I feel pain.
Right.
And this pain makes me feel this, I get this, I don't know, I get this high off of it. So now they're taking quite literally, they're taking hits.
That was a good point that you were bringing up earlier, was that they're more engaged and they're not just zoned out watching TV or anything like that.
Mhm.
And as boring as that looks, they are more aware of their surroundings just in that regard alone. Now they're actually paying attention to life and what's going on around them.
Right, and they want to happen to life, and the thing that's giving them this joie de vivre is the, pain, is fighting. They're not even fighting to be better than another person per se at the beginning, it's really just getting that feeling of pain and then giving it to the other person, and it's almost like you're just giving them that dose, you're giving them that hit of that drug.
You are still alive, even though you haven't been living for such a long time.
They are making themselves feel alive by harming themselves. They're really living instead of just driving to work and whatever, coming back home
Some drunk guys walk out of a bar and
and we're good. We're good.
they're almost like cracking up at them, and they're just like sitting there, and one of them has like the other in a headlock and he's just getting punched in the side. And
Brad Pitt kneeing the shit out of Edward Norton.
yeah, it slowly starts progressing, and eventually like one night there's someone else that's like, hey, can I get in on this? It starts from there, right? It starts like
Yeah.
growing little by little.
Suddenly it's like they're like, "Hey, so yeah, exactly. We if you wanna feel this exhilaration as well, then by all means, we're not gonna stop you." And suddenly it just grows.
We're kicking each other's asses, do you
You
mind?
mind? Exactly.
But no, I think they saw that there was no ill will there. They're just like, they're doing it out of respect for each other, and they're just like, this kind of trippy. I've never seen it done in this way.
Mhm, and so begins this cult.
Yeah, it's kind of like a religion,
It
honestly.
becomes a fucking religion, exactly, and there what is it? There's 6 commandments? I forget how many
Yeah,
rules there are.
you got to have your set of rules.
Uh-huh, mhm,
So yeah, as things they start progressing, and as the group gets a little bigger, it's going to start drawing more attention. So they kind of organize it with the bar owner, because they're frequent patrons and they're bringing more business in. So they're able to strike up a deal with the bar owner to use the unused basement to do their activities. Now
mhm,
it's starting to become legit, and they actually have a venue. They got to give it some structure. So this is when they come up with the official rules of Fight Club. They only have about 8 here, so I'll list them really quick.
mhm.
Number 1, obviously, you do not talk about Fight Club. Number 2, you do not talk about Fight Club. So I always thought that was interesting, that the first 2 rules are the exact same, but they're just emphasizing, how important that rule is.
Mhm,
And then number 3 is, if someone says stop or goes limp, taps out, the fight is over. We're not trying to kill anyone here.
mhm,
Number 4, only 2 guys to 1 fight. Number 5, only 1 fight at a time. Number 6, no shirts, no shoes. Number 7, fights will go on as long as they have to.
mhm,
And the last rule, if this is your first time at Fight Club, you have to fight.
mhm.
Blood in, blood out, that's the initiation.
It is, but, it's also Tyler's way, right? His first student is the narrator, and it starts from there and progressively grows, and so he's, sort of inculcating them in this way of being self-assured, and they're all on this journey, some farther than others, right? Yeah, Tyler starting this with If you have to fight the first time, he wants to see that you have nerve. That's why. If
Mm,
this is your first time, you gotta do this. You're gonna get a dose because to watch it, to only like observe it is so different. And you might just go, I'm not gonna join or whatever. But if you
sure.
want to be here and you wanna
You gotta be
see
serious
people
about it.
fight each other, yeah, exactly. You're not just here to be a voyeur. You're not here to just watch a fight. You're here because you're gonna partake in this because you otherwise get the fuck out of here.
If this ain't for you, then leave.
Yeah, exactly.
It starts off with like good intentions and like you're trying to achieve something, and you start convincing these people. It's usually often held by like really intelligent, persuasive people, right?
Hmm.
Find a way to indoctrinate these like young hopefuls, and they bring in more followers. And
One thing that I've learned from watching these documentaries on cults and cult leaders, Easton and I were when they talk about those those members who joined the cult, these were not dumb people. These were intelligent people. Actually, many of them had higher education. They had, they are looking for these people. They're looking for meaning. That's ultimately it. They're looking for meaning and for somebody to help them to find that. And so to see Tyler Durden, these guys are all like, oh yeah, and then there's so many other people who are joining the cause and believers.
yeah,
So it's more meaningful. It's more important for him to have meaning in his life than it is for him to have all sorts of other needs met. A relationship with a woman that we know of.
that's a good segue because we're reintroduced to Marla after all that
Oh,
shit.
what her? What?
They start building that fight club up, and it's been having some decent success. Doesn't he get a call from Marla, and she's just like, hey, you're not going to your meetings? The fuck, how'd you get this number?
Exactly. Hmm.
Yeah, you haven't been going to your meetings. And he's like, how would you know? We go on different days. And she's like, well, I cheated. I went on the days I wasn't supposed to, and you weren't there. So she was looking for him.
Goes back to what we were talking about before. She likes him. Try to play according to his rules a little bit. But if she's going to the meetings that he's not going to, she's not necessarily doing it to piss him off. She wants to see because she hasn't heard from him in a while. She's looking
Yeah.
for what's he up to now. It's engaging as much as he's feeling this catharsis. He was feeling this catharsis while he was going to those meetings. Women love that. That moment where time slows down, and for her that happened with him, for him to just kind of like disappear. He did to her what she was threatening to do to him by walking away. She didn't like that, so it makes her want him more. Makes her want him so much more that she actually calls him and is threatening. She wants him so bad. She wants him so bad that she tells him, or that she's going to kill herself, that she has already done taken, overdosed on Xanax, right?
She's basically saying, I'm already dead.
I'm already dead. I
It
can
just hasn't
describe
happened
to
yet.
you this exactly. So she's trying to get him to save her. She wants him to save her. She
Yeah.
wants him to be there for her, even though he like is so contentious with her. He seems to hate her.
She's basically manipulating him into coming over, and he's not biting. She keeps talking, and she's like describing all that stuff, and so he just puts the phone up on top of the little mount and walks away. And that's when Tyler is like fucking, he's like practicing
Nunchaku.
nunchucks. Yeah, he's doing that in the background. Then he walks over like, who's talking? He listens to the conversation that she's basically having with herself, and I guess somehow he starts talking to her and gets her location. He actually goes over to her apartment. She seems kind of crazy. Let's go see if she's cute.
Hmm.
So he like goes over there and meets her.
What did she say? She says something like, "That didn't take you long," or something like that. Oh, you got here fast,
Yeah,
something like that.
they don't stay there very long, huh? Because he basically just drags her back to his
No,
place.
here's why. It's because the cops were called, and so they're going there because she's suicidal. Who knows what she had been saying before, but her neighbors basically called the cops on her and said that she needs to be rescued. So the cops are coming. They're hearing sirens out the window, and that's what she says. And so then she's like, "We," I think he just goes like, "We got to get out of here," or she says, "We got to get out of here." So then they start walking through the hall. The cops get there just in moments later. They come up the stairs, and there
Yeah.
they are trying to tell her through the door to, her life matters and all that stuff. And yeah, and then they're
Just all like dancing and shit with her.
oh, right, yeah, they kinda go into, like, a little like, sort of like an alcove. Yeah, and he's just dancing. I thought that was, so fucking brilliant. I loved that he was dancing there because it does make them look a little off anyway, and they're in this, like, jank-ass building. So, yeah, so him just kinda, like, snapping his finger, and he's got his head up, and she's just chilling there, and but he doesn't give a shit. He's still dancing because who it's
No music.
it's his
Yeah.
world. Beat of his own drum, man. Beat of his own drum. I love it. And who's gonna fault him?
Things kind of turn up once they get to the house because they have sex, Tyler and Marla, and they're just banging
Passionate,
it
freaking
out.
just
Yeah.
wild sex. I remember being, like, scandalized not scandalized, I was definitely scandalized by the sex scene. It's just the way that the camera was used, and she was
That
just, like,
artistic shot,
fully
yeah.
nude, but it was like yeah, exactly, it was artistically shot, and so there was almost like this motion blur as it was going through and almost sort of like a double exposures. It was just weird,
Is
like
that what it was? I was wondering how they achieved that, and I thought they like slowed down the shutter speed or something and like made it almost like
exactly,
one shot.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, they could open the shutter keep the shutter speed slower, move the camera a little bit. I mean, it was kind of lowly lit, so that's also gonna add to the motion blur. Yeah, absolutely.
We see it from the narrator's perspective, and it's just all loud, and the walls are shaking, all that stuff, shit's falling from the ceiling, and he's just being all annoyed. In some ways he's almost like she's intruding again, she just won't leave us alone.
Yeah, though, it's interesting that I hadn't thought about that till we just described that scene. Um, it's a really interesting depiction, I would say, of sex, right? Because the way that they're showing it is they're so involved in that world. He's very fully engaged with her, and she with him, and the moaning and the swimming, all of it is its own. You're in each other's world when you're in that space, right?
Hmm.
So they're all you see, you're all they see, and you're creating this space. You're creating this moment together, right? So it's like he's been chasing meaning in different ways. Tyler Durden has been, these two guys have been along this journey the whole time, trying to find this meaning, and now Tyler is, experiencing it this way,
Hmm.
like this new high. That's what we see, and then we just, that's what he sees. It's a beautiful, like I was saying, it's a sort of beautiful depiction because then it goes down to Edward Norton, and it's just like they're just pounding it out of the wall, and it's
Yeah.
just a different experience being an outsider.
Knowing the ending of the movie, you see a lot of hints throughout the movie, and that's what I thought was so fun about watching it the second time. The morning after, the narrator's like in the kitchen, making coffee or whatever. Marla comes down, and he even says something like Tyler and Marla never in the same room, kind of like my parents, they just couldn't stand each other type of thing.
Right.
Red flag number one, they're never in the same room while the narrator's there. But yeah, she comes down and she's being like sweet to him, the narrator. She's already kind of a weird person anyway.
Right, 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 right. No, that's a fucking really great point. Wow, looking at it from looking at it for the first time, watching it for the first time. Yeah, absolutely. That's a funny feeling. You feel like she's like hot and cold, and you're like, what the heck? Then you realize
He was doing that to her.
he
her.
was doing that to her. She was hot for him the whole time, and she's just meeting him where he's at, and then he's still rejecting her. But there's something about still wants to be around him, still appreciates it. Maybe it's again precisely because he's pushing her away that she wants him more. I don't know.
Yeah. I thought this quote was interesting because, in a way, it kind of makes sense, but in a fucked up way. So she comes down and she sees him making coffee or drinking coffee, and she almost like wants to continue the relationship like outside of just like having sex, but she's not like outright saying that. But yeah, she was basically saying that a condom is the glass slipper of our generation. You slip one on when you meet a stranger, you dance all night, then you throw it away. And so, in a lot of ways, that's almost like their relationship.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting connection that she makes to it, though, because although they're in again, wow, words mean something, for they're in this dilapidated house, but she again is going there to see him. For her, this experience is like being Cinderella for a night because she gets the guy, she gets the prince in her mind's eye at least
Mhm.
for the sake of the fact that he's at least the man in her life.
He's exciting right now. Yeah.
Yeah, he's exciting and she likes it, and he intrigues her. In the end, it all falls apart every morning, unfortunately for her.
Well, unfortunately for the narrator, she keeps popping back up, and they just keep having that that rigorous sex
Yeah,
upstairs. And
rigor.
it's weird too because at one point Marla shows up wearing like a fucking old bridesmaid's dress that she got from the thrift store for $1, and again, like with kind of talking about having these things that are so special for a certain time and then they're just tossed away, forgotten forever, right? Like a bridesmaid's dress, like that was made for a special occasion, for a happy occasion, you would assume,
Mhm.
and then like now it's just trash. It's just worth $1 at a thrift store.
$1, that's right. She said she paid $1 for it. She made a point of saying she paid $1 for it. Like, so many thoughts about her. She's trying to make a point to him and using it sort of as a prop. It's something she's thinking about at the very least, we can say. I don't know whether she's actually trying to get him to see it as well, but I would argue she is, because she's there in his midst and she's wanting so badly for him to see her, continue to keep seeing her, but he keeps it's hot and cold.
Hmm. Every morning, it's like clockwork, just turns into a different person, and he's just so fucking cold and distant from her, right?
Exactly.
And so that's when she storms off, and she's just like, "I'm done with you. I don't even know how to deal with you anymore. Like, you don't know what you want.
Hmm.
First you want me, then you don't." And he's just like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Get out of here, dude.
Right.
Like, I never wanted you." So,
Right.
yeah, he thinks that she's crazy, and she thinks he's crazy.
Exactly. Turns out he's a little crazier.
This is how crazy he is. He eventually ends up quitting his job, the narrator.
Oh, I don't he gets the golden handshake, but not in the conventional way.
That's right.
Not in the conventional way.
I think he almost gets fired. That's what happens, right? And then they come to some sort of agreement.
The more that he does what he does, the more that he dives deeper into Fight Club, the more again he sees that that's where real meaning is, and to give a shit about his own job anymore is sort of like it's like, what the fuck, this is my past life. He almost like resents the fact that he still works there and that he lived that life before. He doesn't wear a tie anymore. He makes it a point to say that. He almost feels like he's living a double. I mean, he quite literally is living a double life, because this isn't even at all who he is anymore. Uh,
Right.
that's another important quote I'll give to you. You had one for me, I got one for you. He says he's on the phone, and the narrator is on the phone talking to a detective who called him, inquiring or wanting to give him more information or inquire more about this apartment exploding, and giving more he gives him more detail.
Mm,
So he calls him under the auspices of, I'm gonna tell you more about the what happened with your house, and how there was a, dynamite that was somebody made homemade dynamite to blow up
right.
your house, your condo. So he reaches out to him that way, but he wants to actually get more information from him, because it's pretty suspicious how this all happened. But the quote from Tyler, as Tyler walks up and he sees the narrator talking on the phone. He's already hearing what he's been saying, and so he says to him, about this explosion. Boom, yeah, the homemade dynamite, and that kind of puzzle that makes the narrator kind of like get kind of puzzled, like, what do you mean homemade dynamite? He's like, yeah, and that's when Tyler walks through and says, yeah, yeah, the liberator, he says over his shoulder, the liberator who destroyed my property has realigned my perception. The liberator who has destroyed my property has realigned my perception. So he's perceiving things differently. So sitting at the same desk, doing the same bullshit, he's just a different he's perceiving things differently. Has realigned my perception. This doesn't matter anymore. I'll take a page out of this guy's hand and threat and give him a veiled threat, and then go, or you could just not bother me with this bullshit, with everything that's been printed, everything that comes out of a printer.
Whoever printed that out, I
Yeah,
would
is a
watch out
dangerous
for. That's
person.
a
Yeah,
dangerous
they're
person.
dangerous. Yeah, exactly.
That was like a fucking little low key threat to him.
All of yeah, this
That's a
veiled.
dangerous person right there. I'm just letting you know. You should watch out.
And then he's not lying, because then that's when he gets to the what we were talking about, his golden handshake, his severance, where he goes into
Yeah,
the office. The
I
guy,
love the scene.
yeah, it's very Office Space esque.
Because he walks in there like just like totally confident in what he's about to tell him, right? His old boss, and he's basically saying like, "Yeah, so I'm gonna need you to do this and this and this for me. Like, continue paying me, but I'm not gonna be here anymore." And he's just like, "Who the fuck do you think you are coming in making these demands? Like,
Right.
your ass is
I won't.
fired."
Yeah. Well, here's the agreement. I won't tell everybody about the shitty things that this company does that are like, incendiary. This place would melt down. So he's extorting him in
Yeah,
his own fucking
yeah,
office. He's
right to
extorting
his
him.
face.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm calling security. You're getting the fuck out of here. You're fired.
This is exactly why I love this scene so much. So that's when he comes up with the brilliant idea of making it seem like the boss was beating him up in his office behind closed doors, right? In
Mhm.
private. So that he gives himself an uppercut and it freeze frames right here. And he's just like, there's something really familiar about me beating myself up in this office. Him beating himself up, he the reason why he's so good at beating himself up was because he did it in the parking lot when he started attracting those people. That's why I love the subtle hints all throughout the movie because he's like, strangely, there's something familiar about this feeling about like me kicking my own ass.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing that I also I'm glad we brought this up because it's also familiar because because Lou, the owner of that bar that they've been going to holding their Fight Club meetings and brawling in the basement of, Lou, the owner, shows up, right? And so this scene happens just before, just a couple scenes before the boss, kicking his own ass in his boss's office. Um, he lets this other guy, Luke, shows up. This owner, right? He's this Italian kind of mobster looking dude. He comes through. He's got a lackey behind him with a handgun. So everyone's on edge now. All these guys in the Fight Club, and Tyler Durden plays a gambit. He does so willingly. So he starts talking to Lou, and I forget what he does. I don't know if you remember, but what he does to set him off. But Lou punches him, and then he laughs, and Lou punches him again. And so he gets Lou to just keep punching him. And at times when some of
He
the
doesn't fight back.
yeah, exactly, he doesn't fight back. And when some of the other members, including Edward Norton, at one point after it's gotten pretty violent, and he's pretty fucked up, he even calls Edward Norton off, the narrator, of course, off, puts a hand up, and it holds that image for a little bit. No, like don't intervene. So he lets himself get beat up, and then I called this the gambit. So he lets himself beat up only to checkmate him by then throwing himself onto Lou and bleeding on him.
Into his mouth and
Bleeding
orifices, right?
into his mouth. Lou's on his back, and Tyler's crawled on top of him,
Laughing maniacally too.
laughing maniacally. Not crawled on top, but like lunged on top of him, and is just wagging his face like you would if your tongue were hanging out and you're getting saliva all over the place. He's just letting all the blood that Lou punched out of him land on him, and he says, "You don't know where I've been, Lou. You don't know where I've been." And he's laughing maniacally. It's a gambit, right? And it fucking works. So he takes a chance, and it pays off because now they have a venue, right? So now they've got a place to always have this because the head honcho, the dude that the only other dude who could put the kibosh on it, is now on board and says, "Yeah, of course you
Yeah.
can have the place," right? So that was a tactic. Then cut to that scene. Now not only do they have a venue, but because he gets this severance package from kicking his own ass instead of Lou beating up Tyler Durden, he kicks his own ass in the office, and that's also why it's familiar.
Tyler secured the venue and then he secured the funding. I really like that scene too with the mob boss kind of beating him up. He was sending a message without even throwing a single punch.
Mhm.
I think that shows like the kind of person that Tyler is. And everyone like he tells everyone to just like sit back and watch. I think he gains so much respect here. Like he already had the respect and the admiration from like most of these guys, right? But I think that's when they became diehard for him because of like how dedicated Tyler is to the cause.
Yeah, he's down.
He's the martyr, like he's willing to fucking do what he
Yeah,
needs to do.
exactly.
Yeah, he was willing to take one for the team without question. Oftentimes, I mean, Tyler would fucking do crazier shit than like any of them would be willing to do.
Right, to the point where they were shocked when they saw him getting
Because
his ass beat. They're like watching. Yeah.
Tyler probably could have beat his ass, but he didn't.
Right, right. He got something more. That's again, that's what's it's like yeah, it's interesting. He got what he wanted. And he might not have gotten what he wanted had he fought back and beat the shit out of this guy. He might have got more problems than it was worth.
Sure. Oh, before I forget, I wanted to give a shout out to Jared Leto here as the blonde character Angel Face.
Yeah, Angel Face. I really liked his depiction of Steve Prefontaine, actually. He played the runner Steve Prefontaine, and yeah, it was insightful. I mean, That's where Nike was born, was with Steve Prefontaine.
Hmm.
Yeah, he had Steve Prefontaine run in his running shoes because that's all Nike made before Michael Jordan.
I said Prefontaine.
I said Prefontaine. Anyway, Jared Leto, that was one of his first films I remember watching. It was like a made-for-TV movie.
I think I saw him in something recently, and I was just like, "Holy shit! I didn't know he was in this movie." Check this out, though. One of the movies that Jared Leto is currently working on, he's going to be in Masters of the Universe as Skeletor. What the fuck?
What the fuck? Skeletor. He's got to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's got to be giant. I mean, I don't know. Wishing him all the best. Hopefully that works out.
Where were we? Oh, so yeah, eventually they start recruiting people and bringing them in house. They fixed up the basement and everything, right? Tyler was doing some projects down in the basement, and he's building like bunk beds and shit.
Yeah. He's again. You say they're recruiting, but they found a way to get people to just show up on their doorstep. Again, remember, it's just the extra levels of dedication. So these men have already fought each other. They're
Yep.
already well acquainted with the way of Fight Club. And now all of a sudden they're showing up on the doorstep. So they've already gone through sort of hellish experiences, but like in some strange way pleasurable because they derive meaning from it. So then now they're going for extra levels of pain. 3 days they're supposed to stand on this porch. 3 fucking days while they both tear them down.
They
While
berate
they
them.
both berate them again. It's this sort of rebirth, like I was saying before, a cult leader would do. So they kind of they tear them down.
Strip away your old self, shaving your head, and just being like a fucking pawn at this point.
Exactly, for the cause. Suddenly the meaning in their life is the cause, and the cause is Fight Club, which then turns into something
Project Mayhem.
called Project Mayhem. Exactly.
We're in the same boat as the narrator, so if this sounds like it just happens overnight, it basically does, because I guess Tyler has been kind of setting this up low key by himself without even letting the narrator know.
Right. This is all again, it's just so interesting that once this ball gets rolling, these projects continue to increase and in levels of like magnitude.
Yeah, the scope. Hmm.
Yeah, it's just like, oh shit, this is what they're doing now. Fuck?
Yeah, because it starts off like simple, kind of dumb shit. Even when Tyler and the narrator are going down the street and they're just like fucking smashing windows and windshields and side mirrors and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just cause.
Popping people's tires with those fucking spikes they rerouted. They turn right back around for
Oh,
people.
yeah, that's right. On the exit lane. I think the one that you had mentioned was when they're demagnetizing the VHS tapes, or no, magnetizing them, right? And they're just kind of like wiping them.
Right.
I didn't realize that was a thing, but yeah, apparently by the time like I even knew that you could do that, I felt like VHSs were already long gone.
Yeah, long gone. Bastards. Just fucking with people.
Yep.
Damn it. And again, in growing in levels of magnitude, just they're just being assholes to people with this big ass magnet. And then,
Smashing people's satellite dishes off the roof.
yeah, to then this crazy thing on the news. If it actually makes the news and they're all excited. Again, because now the thing that they're contributing to, then this thing that they're deriving meaning from is being seen by other people. Now the message is getting out.
So this is another big hint right here. Did you notice the expressions? Because I was really focusing, like knowing the twist, right? I was focusing on everyone's reactions, and they react as you expect. They're watching on TV and they're just eagerly waiting to see the results, right? The fruits of their labor
The
show up
fruits of their labor.
on the news. And so what do they do? They like vandalize this giant business building and blow out the windows or whatever, and it looks like a happy face, right?
Yeah. Paint all over Tyler Durden's hand.
The narrator's watching it and he's like, "What the fuck did you guys do?" He's like fucking scared, actually. They all look at him for a second and they start cracking up. And it looks like they're just being like little deviants, but they thought he was joking because he's the one that told them to do that.
Exactly.
Quit taking the piss out of us.
Exactly. Bob's face is like, oh, like he's like snacking on something. Oh, he stops mid bite. Oh,
Angel
shit.
face too. Yeah, he's just
Yeah,
like,
everyone's
what
like,
the fuck?
oh shit. Like, what are you talking? Are you serious? Are you what? the whole mood shifts. There's like this energy and there's kind of like vibrance as they're kind of handing beers to each. This guy chucks another beer across the room. Dude catches it. I was like, oh, I wouldn't crack that open right then. But just the fact that they're just like, yeah, fuck yeah, we're drinking to this, right? And then
Hmm.
just when they're just settling in to have that the rug pulled from underneath them, they're
Yeah.
like, surely he's because they did it to please him.
Yeah, he quite literally told them to do that, and now he's mad at them, genuinely mad at them.
Yeah, they're trying to determine how mad if he's mad at them, if he's doing something weird that's just trying to teach them a lesson of
Is
some
this
sort.
another test? Yeah.
Exactly.
That's around the same type or same time that the audience finds out that they're just making a shit ton of soap. And what was Tyler talking about earlier about soap? You can make dynamite out of basically anything.
Exactly.
Even like the way that they get the fat for the soap.
Oh my
He goes to
gosh.
that liposuction
Liposuction.
clinic, digs out of the trash. When that one gets snagged on the barbed wire and it rips
That was
open.
nasty.
Uh,
that's the one scene that always comes to mind. That's the one that made the most impact on my mind
it
as a
scarred you.
kid. Scarred me. It was the fat and the draining on him and just how they were like dry heaving. Like,
But he was still trying to catch it because he didn't want to waste it. He just, whoa.
exactly. Oh no.
There's also this scene here that I thought was really strangely edited, and I wonder what the purpose of it was.
Hmm.
It kind of takes a break to almost break the fourth wall. So Tyler, this was before he disappears, right? But it kind of deviates from the story for just like a minute where he starts addressing no one. Like he's just kind of like talking to himself, but I think he's also like directing it indirectly at the audience. And I don't know if you notice it, but it's like that's where it starts like rapidly shaking,
Mm-hmm.
doing this weird effect where like his face is like still centered, everything else around him is shaking, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is where he's like, you're not your job, you're not how much money you have in the bank, you're not the car you drive, you're not the contents of your wallet,
Mm-hmm.
you're not your fucking khakis, you're the all singing, all dancing crap of the world. And as he's saying this, he's just kind of like getting closer to the lens,
Mm-hmm.
and then it gets back to the story. So it was just really weird that they just take this moment to kind of like step away and break that fourth wall.
I like that. That's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Such a great way because they're really trying to get us into that world. Like that's exactly what Fincher's trying to get us into is to realize we are the narrator in some way. We can see ourselves. That's the whole point of going to the movies is to empathize with some people on the screen. He's the narrator. He is the protagonist in our story, and we want to see ourselves in him. But we're just like we are also Tyler Durden.
Mm-hmm. I just thought like that scene really stood out this time around when I watched it, and I was just thinking like, what was the point of that? And before I just found it like really jarring, but now I was kind of just thinking like, what was the intent behind it? Because that was really strange.
Right. What is it we're trying to accomplish? It's so interesting. There's a what is it we're trying to achieve?
Yeah, and this was a big turning point in the movie too, because it wasn't just randomly placed here, but I wonder if this is almost like signifying that Tyler takes full control of the narrator at some point, because the narrator blacks out for like a good while. Tyler was able to go on trips and like visit all these places and meet all these people and put these plans in motion while he was unconscious, right? The narrator.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of them just taking turns, like, all right, I'll give you the day, I take over the night. And that's why he only sleeps like 1 hour, because he's literally just like nonstop going. And so I feel like this is the only time that Tyler kind of like uses all of his control at one point and then just kind of like fucks off for a while.
Right. Does what he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
The working through the night kind of thing. I take control now. All of a sudden, it's not just we take it in shifts anymore. Now this person decides they're going to exert their desires, their will over the other. But again, it's the shadow. It's the shadow self. Gosh, it's so just fucking interesting, dude. Things point back to Legion. It's just interesting. I don't know. That again, that shadow self, that part of us that can also be that energy force. We all have this in us, but it's up to us to kind of like find that balance.
Right. I think before he disappears too, that's when he gets the little chemical burn on his hand.
Oh,
But it's trippy because it shows the result of what it's eventually going to look like. Did you notice that he licked his lips and kissed it, and the moisture is what burns?
exactly. That's right.
He basically has like lip burn marks on his hand.
That's so funny. What a twisted asshole.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say that's exactly what he did. Is this kiss
Hmm.
and sort of betrays him with a kiss.
And yeah, and then he vanishes, and then everyone else in the house vanishes too. And so he's just kind of left there abandoned. They've still left all their files and everything. So he's trying to make sense of it all. And he ends up taking that to the police, doesn't he? Because he wants to like rat out his own team, Project Mayhem.
Hmm.
Is this when he goes to the police, or was it after the whole Bob incident? One of the plans goes awry.
Yeah. Oh, that's crushing. That was the last straw. This should never have happened to this person.
It was basically arguably the only person that the narrator liked on Project Mayhem. I guess there's like a mission that didn't go as planned, and Bob was like the slowest one, and he ended up getting shot and killed. They bring him back, and everyone's just kind of like, well, what do we do with him? Like, so insensitive, right? Like, let's just bury him in the backyard. It's no big deal. The narrator's like,
Damn.
yo, what the fuck is going on here? This guy has a name. Like, he had a family before he joined this thing. His name is Robert Paulson. And then everyone's just like, you're right. His name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson. They just like keep saying that over and over again. He's like, shut the fuck up. What's wrong with you guys?
Hmm. They have given over complete control to somebody else to make decisions for them. If this guy likes this thing more and more and more. Let's just repeat his name.
Really creepy.
Yeah. Scary, dude. Dude, now that I made that, I'm like, holy shit, the connections to Lord of the Flies is real, dude. If it's all based on violence, it's just going to get more violent. You know what I mean? And to the point where somebody will lose their life. And then it happens again. That just innocent Bob gets caught in the crossfire there.
That's when he tries to go to the police, rat them out, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Yo, this team is fucking crazy, and they're highly organized, and they're extremely dangerous." Little did he know that the three cops he's talking to are all in on it too, and so they're just like, "We know what to do, sir." And he's just like, "Oh shit."
Damn.
How fucked up is Tyler here? Because he said, "Hey, if my other self ever walks in here and tries to rat out the team, cut off my balls." And so that's what they try to do, pinning him to the table, and they're like, we're just following orders. We're doing what you told us to do. And he's just like, no, no, no.
Hey, man. Yeah. Oof, but they've seen how dedicated he is to the cause,
Oh, he's
so they're
crazy,
taking him at his word.
man. Yeah, at this point, like, I'd be paranoid of everyone because you don't know who to trust. You don't know who's in on it. Tyler's reach is vast.
Yeah.
He's fighting against himself.
He knows his every move, and he knows both what he's gonna do, and he knows how he thinks.
I even like the part when he's like, yo, it's me, guys. I'm ordering you to stand down. He's like, you told us you would say that too. Fuck that.
Fuck, dude. Fuck. Making life so hard. Oh my gosh. Damn, dude. That's like being on a trip. Oh my gosh.
He narrowly escaped somehow, basically like fleeing in his chonies in a robe, the files under one arm, and then like a gun in the hand. And what is happening?
What the fuck is happening? How did the situation get to
Oh, there was another thing too where he sends Marla away, right? So he wants to protect her. He wants her out of the city because he knows that Project Mayhem is planning something big and it's going to be in the city. It's downtown. Basically has lunch with her to convince her to like get on a bus and drive off. Like, don't tell me where you're going, just go somewhere. When they're having lunch and they order their food or whatever, he's just like, hey, but clean food. Okay, well, I would advise against the clam chowder then. Oh man, yeah. If you've ever seen Waiting, I feel like that scarred me for life.
Yeah. Damn, the clean food. Always the stuff, always the white sauces. Chicken, the
Ooh,
Alfredo. I know that was
oof.
a problem with.
Yeah. The catering service was under investigation too, right? Because of the shit that Tyler was doing. They mentioned that in passing.
Yeah.
At this point, the narrator he figures out a piece of the puzzle, and he goes and checks it out. He breaks into that. They're targeting banks, right? Like bank headquarters to wipe out debt or something like that.
Mm.
He figures out one of them, goes to the basement, and sure enough, yeah, there's this unmarked white van. Checks in the back, and there's a bunch of soap in the back.
Damn.
This is such a cool scene because Tyler shows back up, the big foil.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of where they finally confirm the reveal, right? Is that he has a dissociative identity disorder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's been chasing a ghost because he is Tyler.
He's been Tyler all along.
Oh,
Yep.
shit.
Yep.
So Tyler pops
Damn.
back up and he's just like, why the fuck are you doing this, dude? Just can't you just let this
Let
plan
me
go through? Why are you being
Oh,
such a
yeah.
thorn in my side? Dude, I love his look right here too, because he looks really different than how he did from the rest of the movie. He has like the shaved head and
Yes.
wearing this like fucking like red tank top mesh thing,
Mhm. Mhm.
fur coat on top of that, and I don't know, it's just a cool getup.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Sick style.
And yeah, he proceeds to kick his ass again.
Question is he the one wearing this? Is Tyler wearing this? Is Edward Norton wearing this? Like
Edward
what?
Norton's still wearing his boxers and like bathrobe.
Yeah, yeah. This is all the things he wishes he could do or wanted to do. This
Right.
is that shadow self that he could just not align with. This is his me, myself, and Irene.
Basically, yeah. How he's like his own worst enemy. Press check on Vagisil.
Yeah, someone he says we got a full-on fallopian fungus here, fellas. Someone's baking bread and it smells like sourdough. I'm like, oh my gosh, like just go off his rocker. Doesn't ever really converse with him, whereas this guy has full-on conversations. It's just
Yeah,
wild,
full on
wild that we've been
conversations.
betrayed.
Devising plans as one and then trying to
Yeah.
tear it down as the other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. The main hero and the main villain. But yeah, I like how they show it from different points of view as well. Because from the security camera, it shows the little CCTV, and it shows that he's like kicking his own ass. Even though it looks like a cool fight scene, it looks
Yeah.
like Tyler's like taking it to him,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
punching himself and flipping himself, throwing himself into a wall.
Damn. Yeah.
And I think he actually loses that fight. He wakes up upstairs, right, tied
Yes.
to a
Yeah.
chair.
Yeah. Tied to a chair. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Tyler is sitting there and he's positioning him towards the window, right? Or like near the window,
Mm-hmm.
so that way keep an eye on him while he watches the buildings blow up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming whatever building they're in is a different building that is not set to blow up.
For some reason, I don't remember if that is it or if he was trying to. Why would he try to kill himself anyway? I want my plan to go through.
I don't think Tyler wanted to die.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
This is pretty much like the climax of the movie right here. This is pretty trippy because this is when the narrator finally regains control. He's always like lost to Tyler every time that they've gone head to head with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So Tyler's basically saying like, I'm the captain now, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
All you can do is sit back and watch. But this was cool because this is when the narrator is like, wait, if you're me, then I'm really the one that has the gun. And so he looks down and the gun's now in his hand and not in Tyler's. Cool trick, but doesn't mean anything. He's still able to kind of catch Tyler off guard, even though Tyler knows him so well because he is him.
Right. He may know most things about him, but he doesn't realize he could pull one over him.
Mm-hmm. And that's when he's able to threaten him by like putting the gun in his own mouth. And I was like, all right, well, if I can't beat you, then I guess we're both gonna die. I'll take you down with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so they bring up Marla as well. They finally track down Marla, and the bus driver is probably one of them. One of the members, and they brought her upstairs. The narrator, he finally puts the final nail in the coffin for Tyler, puts the gun in his mouth, and pulls the trigger. I thought he was dead here.
Yeah, me too.
And I think he was fully expecting to die. Like, I don't think he did it properly.
Oh,
He
right.
ended up like shooting through his cheek, I think, right? Back of his cheek.
Yeah, not through his head.
Yeah, it didn't go through his brain, but I guess it went through some soft tissue or something.
Mm-hmm.
That somehow killed Tyler, which I thought was interesting. Maybe the fact that he was finally able to like grow some balls and become brave enough to kill himself and take his own life, that was the strength that he needed to finally overcome Tyler in his own mind.
Mm-hmm. Right. The final battle for himself. Crazy. Ultimately that's what Tyler had been training him to do all along. It was either that or just be crushed by Tyler. So you have to rise above me. You have to beat me.
Dude, how terrifying would it be if you were being pushed out of your own body? Another personality was threatening to take over, and like you had to fight back for your own body.
Crazy. Sounds like being John Malkovich.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It goes places, man. It goes places. But yes, that would be frightening. Gosh, that's The Exorcist, right? Possession, being forced out of your body or to, not have control, like just to be. or Legion, for
Yeah,
that
yeah.
matter. To be locked away like he was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, scary.
The rest of the goons, they kind of bring Marla up, and they see that he shot himself, and they're just like, "What the fuck? What'd you do to yourself?"
Hmm.
And so he orders them away. I think at this point he knows it's kind of inevitable. Like there isn't really much that they can do to stop it. They just kind of have to let it happen. But at least now he has full control of his body. Marla's still alive, so it does leave it in a bit of an ambiguous way.
Mm-hmm.
Do get some cool fireworks at the end.
Right.
So the headquarters, like one by one, start toppling over after their explosions.
Damn.
And I love this fucking ending song, dude. Shout out to Where Is My Mind by Pixies. Love this song.
Classic.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where is my mind?
That is a wrap on Fight Club.
Hey.
If you made it to the end of our podcast, then you just created your own alter ego.
You're welcome. Your own best friend.
That's right. Who will never leave you, quite literally. Any final thoughts or closing comments?
Damn good movie.
Still holds up. Did you get a lot more out of it the second time around?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Even more so now talking about it in retrospect and
Oh, yeah.
getting your takes on things, and yeah, absolutely.
I mean, watching it even a few times, there's still scenes that I'm just like, I wonder what they meant by this here, or I wonder what the purpose of it was.
Yeah, yeah. Again, like I wouldn't even have noticed it, but just our conversation, just the fact that you took note of her dress and kind of harkening back to kind of what we were discussing from the very beginning, uh, just kind of analyzing it all, right? I
Hmm.
started to see just how much she likes him. I was like, wow, I didn't see that before. The first time I saw it, didn't see it. I thought she was a crazy person, hot, cold, hot, cold.
Right.
Snip, snap, snap.
Snip, snap, snip, snap.
And then, but watching it this time, different for sure. You really see the longing. I see the longing there in her, and yeah, it's this twisted love story, to be honest.
It is, yeah. And they could still have a happy ending for all we know.
Right,
She's
right, right,
they're both
right.
still alive. He's bleeding out of his neck, but he might survive.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So there's still potential there.
And like I said, I think it's awesome that the movie is basically two different movies. It's like when you first watch it, and then when you watch it
Yes.
again, knowing the twist, it's arguably more enjoyable once you know the twist, because then you can start looking for the little clues that are sprinkled all throughout
Mm-hmm.
the movie.
Yeah, Easter eggs for sure. Um, it's cool to have an experience like that with a movie where you can see it twice and it'll be meaningful, more meaningful even the second time you watch it. Normally you think you get, oh yeah, that's it. But having a twist like that, what they twist,
Hmm.
definitely makes you rewatch it and you see the complexity, you see the way that the story was woven, how careful they had to be with the scenes with the lovemaking, and then with him, and then she's never in the room. I don't know, all those
Never in the
kinds of
same
things.
room. You notice like Tyler would leave when Marla shows up, so that way he's not talking to Tyler. He shifts his focus on her. And then even when Tyler's always telling him like, "Hey, what are you talking about? You better not be talking about me."
Right, exactly. In the basement dictates to him exactly the sentence. This conversation is over.
One of the times when they're having sex, the door's cracked open, and so the narrator
Hmm.
kind of peeks in, and Tyler opens it and was like, "What are you doing?" You see Marla, she's like, "Who are you talking to?" And that's when he just slams the door and they
Yeah.
just continue, right? So he basically was having sex with her, stopped to go open the door. How weird is that from an outside perspective, right? That he gets up to have conversations with himself.
Yeah, yeah. That's so wow, that's so crazy. He's actually in the room with her, and yet the narrator is in the kitchen doing stuff and hearing the
Yeah.
sound. I'm wondering, oh, how present is he really being? Because she's moaning loud, so
Hmm.
she's obviously enjoying herself, and so I'm just like, what the heck? That's just crazy. Two personalities. It's wild. This fully realized vision of himself in the kitchen, walking through, cleaning dishes and all that shit.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, crazy hot sex in the other room above him, just loud, just obnoxiously so. It's like hilarious. I
Oh
I,
yeah.
I was
Over
I
the
was actually
top. Hmm.
laughing. Yeah, it's just so over the
The
top.
wailing. Yeah.
The wailing, basically. Yeah.
Oh, another thing too, I guess it's kind of ironic is that they start off creating Fight Club to almost like rebel against authority,
Mm-hmm.
and yet by the end of the movie they end up being like these yes men to Tyler Durden, and he
Mm-hmm.
becomes the
Mm-hmm.
authority figure.
Right. Right. They give all authority over to him. Mm-hmm. Wow.
So they become the exact thing that they were trying to fight against.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the music was fucking dope in this movie. I loved it. It was a weird soundtrack.
Yeah, but badass.
I was trying to think of like how to describe it, like techno grunge at times. That's kind of how it
Oh,
felt.
right. So that's what I was going to mention too. The people who did the soundtrack were the Dust Brothers, otherwise known as the Chemical Brothers. I noticed that in the what do you call it? The credits, but in my in my what was supposed to be geography class in ninth grade, Mr. Regalado told us so instead of doing geography, what we did was we watched documentaries on groups, and we would take notes in outline format.
Hmm.
And one of the documentaries was on the Dust Brothers, and they made big hits after that. The whole back when one of those block rocking beats.
Dang,
Yeah, so they're the ones who did the soundtrack. Badass, right?
that's awesome. Well, are you watching anything lately, film or TV?
I watched all the way through. Watched Lawrence of Arabia.
4K, right?
4K, dude. Watched that with
Yeah.
my pops finally. It was his first time seeing it in like 20 years, and my first time seeing it ever. I thought I had seen it before, but actually what I had seen was Khartoum,
Oh,
which I think that's Charlton Heston. But anyway, so I saw that, and the my brother and I one day just got on a whim decided let's watch Highlander. So because he got me
there
that for
can
my
be only
birthday.
one.
There can be only one.
I mean, as corny as that can be, I think what's even worse is Sean Connery. To be honest, as the Spaniard, really?
As the no, he's supposed to be he's supposed to be the Spaniard, but actually they get into it. And well, it's actually I'm Egyptian. He's ancient.
So is that just like a his current persona is I'm a Spaniard
Right. He just goes by that because he just travels the world and
because
he
they're
gives.
immortal. Yeah,
They're immortal, right? So he just like he's found a way to make a living. Is teaching people how to sword fight. He meets other people, royalty, things like that. People who have been made immortal. He helps.
I love that actor too, Clancy Brown.
Thank you, dude. That guy, mad props. He's a badass. That guy's so cool.
Yeah, he always plays like a pretty trippy character, and
He does.
I think he was also in Starship Troopers, if I recall right.
Oh, I don't. It's been a minute for me, but I will never forget his depiction in the movie fucking Pet Cemetery 2. He's the stepfather.
Dang. So I've seen a couple things.
Yeah.
Well, I
What you
guess
watching?
fairly recently. So Brenda and I have watched From, which is a I don't know, kind of like thriller drama on Prime Video. I think it's a Prime Video original. The premise is basically this family is doing like a road trip in their RV, and they have to reroute because the road is blocked. So they go through this little town. They see some creepy people. So like, all right, whatever, let's just keep driving. And then they drive past it and end up driving through the town again in a loop. Now they can't leave.
What the From? It's called From. And when was it released?
I think it's still ongoing, if I recall.
Oh, oh, it's a show.
I think it
Okay.
just had season 3. The only other thing that I saw recently was Love Hurts in theaters, and that's with Kiwi Kwan. Some might know him from The Goonies
Oh,
and
of
Indiana
course, The
Jones.
Goonies. Mm-hmm.
Much older now, of course, but in recent history, he killed it in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, won an Academy Award.
And he just carries those skills over into Love Hurts, and he's just kind of this hitman or something, like an assassin turned real estate agent. Like he's trying to make like a decent honest living for himself, and his past has caught up with him.
This is really interesting to see how this has gone now, where he gets to showcase his skills with martial arts. He's really having a renaissance, just this whole rebirth of his career, because for so long he wasn't, he only acted as a child, and then afterwards didn't really, I don't know if it was by choice or not, but didn't really make anything big again until Everything Everywhere All at Once. And so
Right, right.
it's so to see that he's doing another movie, it's for some, immediately I started thinking, huh, that's interesting. He's doing like martial arts movies like this. I wonder if he's going to do a lot more like that and be more like almost like a modern Jackie Chan where he does his own stunts. And
That's actually what I'm
because
hoping.
ultimately, what do we watch Jackie Chan movies for? But to just see Jackie Chan kick some people's
Kick
ass. Come
some
on.
ass.
And he does such a great job. And he's got, you know, how do you pronounce his name again?
Kiwi Kwan.
Kiwi Kwan has such a warmth. I cried when I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, dude. It hits you. He's got this range. He's just got, he's got something. He's got this amazing charisma, and hell yeah, I'll tune in to see a few movies like of his, just as I would with any Jackie Chan movie.
Definitely. Well, you can find us wherever you normally get your podcasts. New episodes drop on the first Saturday of each month, 5 a.m. Pacific. If you like what you heard, leave us a like, comment, or subscribe. Thank you for listening and joining Michael, Tyler Durden, and myself. This has been Aflixionados Podcast, episode 51. Never Been Kissed. And we'll see you all at the next meetup.